So I'm going to go ahead and just jump in. But before I do, um, this is going to be focused on using the Square program to set up an online store. And let me stop sharing my screen so you can see my face for a few minutes, for better or for worse. So the Square program, and I'm going to talk about this a number of times over and over again. However, the Square program is there's the central component of the software where you're going to go and sign up for Square. Many of you all already have the reader, the white reader, the swipe. That's one way to take money and to accept and place accept orders. There's also other ways, including an online store. And so if you already have a Square account, you don't have to create a new one. If you haven't created a Square account yet, or you've never been accepting credit cards or any of that, that's no problem too. We'll cover that as well. The main thing I just want to emphasize to you is there's the main Square portion, which anybody can use to accept credit card payments at any time. And one specific component of that is the online store. Now, if that doesn't make sense to you yet, hopefully by the end of this, it will. I require a lot of repetition to learn stuff, so I try to do that for other people as well. So if you don't know me, my name is Brett Wolf. I work at the University of Kentucky, specifically with the Center for Crop Diversification. I know you're here to learn about web payment and online stores, so I won't go on too long about that. However, if you're looking for pricing information, growing production information, marketing kind of stuff, visiting our website is a really good thing to do, especially if you're stuck inside a good bit of your time now, like a lot of people are. One specific thing I want to mention, I'm dropping a link into the chat. So if you haven't seen the chat yet, down at the bottom of your screen, there should be a little bubble that says chat. You can go in there, and I dropped a link in there. It goes to a specific page on our website that has a bunch of resources that are specifically related to what I'm going to talk about today. And so what I mean by that is I'm going to talk about Cakes and Links for K-Card, a group that we work with. That one's in there. There's a link to a copy of the PowerPoint that I'm putting up right now in PDF form. Sorry. I'm responding everyone. Let's try that again. I accidentally sent it to just the panelists, which is just me. Hopefully everybody can see. Let's see here. Yeah, so everybody should be able to see that link now. And so that's good. It's just going to have a handful of links, including some stuff related specifically to meat. We had some questions come in about shipping and selling meat online, and that is outside of my personal wheelhouse. But we do have a number of people on campus who work around that area, and one of them in particular, Dr. Greg Renfro, who's a specialist, shared some helpful links for thinking about selling meat online and shipping and all that kind of stuff. And that is also, again, I'll just throw it in there one more time to be annoying. It's in that list there. I'm going to use the chat to put a couple of other links up. Actually, I'll go ahead and share them now, and then maybe do it again later. Let's see here. So this will be we're going to actually later get into some site building, some web store building, and this is the link you'll want to use for that. So there's two links there now. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the presentation, not go on too long. As a reminder, this is being recorded. It wasn't like a warning, but this is being recorded, so you'll be able to go back and see it later. Or if you have someone that you know who might be interested in this, you can always go back and view it later. Okay, cool. Let me check just real quick, make sure I'm up to date on stuff. Cool. Got some people. It's their first time on Zoom. Very, very exciting. All right. Cool. All right, so I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to share my screen, and we'll go through a little bit of PowerPoint. I'll show you some screenshots of the screens that I think are pretty straightforward, and then we'll actually go into the Square Builder, and you'll be able to watch like you're watching over my shoulder as I walk you through a couple of different principles and practices. It's going to be kind of an online demo. Okay, cool. Share my screen here. So if you have chats, I'll just check in periodically on you. So before I jump in, I want to just emphasize part of the mantra that I would share would be you can definitely do this. It depends on how much confidence you have and how experienced you are dealing with stuff, but with enough time and determination, you are going to be able to do this. Okay. This is Square. I mentioned a couple of times already, but this is Square. This is just one particular platform. But if you asked me what would be the easiest, simplest, most straightforward way to set up an online store or set up being able to accept payment online, I would recommend this one. I think it's pretty straightforward. They do a good job of helping you to walk you through the steps, and you'll see that here in a few minutes. I mentioned already, and I dropped it in the chat, but there is a link specifically to all the stuff that I'm going to mention today. There's a couple of links to some of the Square tutorials that I think are really helpful. So I just want to emphasize that it may be that this is not in your wheelhouse. This is not a strength of yours, but you can do this. It might take a stepping away if you get frustrated and coming back, but just keep it in mind. You're going to be able to work through this and figure it out. Okay. So before we even jump into the online web store stuff, I know that there are at least some people on here who don't actually want a web store. They just want to be able to take pre-orders. So full disclosure, my reason for offering this is that I work with a lot of farmers markets. And so some of my examples that you'll see as they unfold, you'll see that that is what I'm thinking about. A lot of the principles that I'm going to talk about, and definitely the specifics of how to work the web store, will be universal no matter how you're selling or where you're selling or what your normal markets are. But I think that there are some people who need to ask the question, why do I even want the web store in the first place? Or maybe why don't I? Now, you'll see what I mean by that in a second. So why would you? Obviously, I think if you're on here, maybe you're familiar with some of these. You potential to expand your customer base. Absolutely. Some people don't want to come down and peruse stuff, or they won't come into your brick and mortar location. They want to see the stuff online and be able to buy it online. Great. If you have a particular market day or a particular time that you're typically taking products to one place, maybe a craft fair or something like that, or obviously a farmer's market, this allows you a little bit of better planning. You know that at least the stuff that's been prepaid and pre-ordered online, you're able to have that, take that with you, and you're not going to take that back. Sometimes when you go to a retail market, you don't know how much stuff people are going to buy, you don't know how much to take. It just helps a little bit with some better planning. I think that there are some people who make impulse buys on there's some people who make impulse buys on the couch. There's some people who make them in person. I'm an in-person. I see the beautiful bouquet or the really enticing, jar of jam or whatever. I'm like, okay, I'm much more likely to have an impulse buy there. As with some people, if they're scrolling through on their phone or on their computer or whatever, and they see, oh, okay, I can buy this, they're more likely to buy that online. So you're able to reach a different kind of customer and also get them to buy in from the comfort of their own couch or wherever they are. Gift cards are another big reason why you might think about offering this kind of online store thing. Again, our friends at K-Card, there's a link in the page that I shared to their great Q&A stuff. They have a Q&A that summarizes all the different options for online stores, and they also have one about taking gift cards, digital gift cards. So if you're thinking about offering gift cards as a way for people to support you earlier on in the season or through, give it as a gift for Christmas, that kind of thing in normal times, or right now, if your market is maybe not open yet, or you're just interested in offering gift cards for one reason or another, that might be a good reason to have an online store, specifically the online store. The last one I have here is future ? Right? It's what a lot of us are thinking about. What is the future going to look like? Are things going to change? I don't know any more than you do about where things are going to go or how they're going to pan out. Right now, through the work of the commissioner and KDA, the farmers markets, for instance, are considered part of the essential infrastructure, and so they're allowed to remain open, but they have to go through social distancing and other things like that. I think that pre-ordering using an online store could play a role in helping that social distancing thing to happen. It can help reduce traffic and all that kind of stuff. Again, we don't know what's going to happen. If a market channel that was expected goes away, having this as an option to maybe divert some sales to could be a good idea. We're in that world, in the farmers market world, at least, we're in the enviable position to have a little bit of time to think about this. And maybe one of the other mantra points that I would make in general is you don't have to convert from whatever you're doing now to online sales overnight. Okay. You can take this slowly. You can figure it out over time. We're in a position now where, like, even if you could do 5-10% of your sales as pre-orders, that could be something to divert some of that traffic, that browsing traffic, or whatever, to try to shift toward this. You don't have to hit a home run on the first pitch that you see. You can just kind of take it gradually, take it slowly, and work toward it. So on the flip side, why would we not want to go through the process of an online store? And specifically, I would say, if you are just looking to take pre-orders, or if you're just looking to expand your ability to accept debit cards, credit cards, that sort of thing, if those are the main things that you're trying to get access to, you don't actually have to build an online store per se. You could just simply sign up for a Square account, and that's going to allow you to accept credit cards. And I'll talk about, like, sort of the example other options here in just a second for what that might look like. A couple other reasons. I think appropriateness for customers is a big question mark. Do you have people who are going to be really excited and willing to go online, literally to an online store, click, enter their information, etc.? Or do they want to have some sort of interaction with you? Do they have strong enough internet access, bandwidth? It doesn't take a ton to do this kind of stuff, but you yourself might not have great enough bandwidth. If you go on here and you try to upload a picture and it takes 12 hours, that's not going to be a sustainable solution for you. I think a lot of people, it'll be okay, but that is just something to think about. Do you have enough product to justify setting up an online store? Again, I'm going to reemphasize this again, because I think it's kind of sometimes hard to wrap your mind around. The Square product centrally is a place that can process payments and hold your inventory and all that kind of stuff. You can have a Square account and not have an online store attached to it. Okay. And so you could still accept credit card payments through Square. You could still take, over the phone, etc. And you don't have to have that online store. So if you have 10 jars of honey, this enough product question, if you have 10 jars of honey, setting up the online store taking an afternoon or a whole day or however long it depends on your skill set. But if you spend that much time, you might not be wanting to do that for a relatively small amount of product. It's not going to help address Snap and Wix stuff, and that's something I don't have a ton of knowledge about, but I do know that this particular thing is not going to help you with that. You're still going to have to figure out protocols for how to accept those types of things at your market in the midst of all the chaos and things changing. And the last one here, losing money, because there's fees associated with it. I'll talk about that here in just a second. But as far as if you're listening in and you're thinking, okay, we're going to need a way to somehow accept payment, take pre-orders, etc., you don't necessarily have to have the online store, the web store, which I'm going to cover in the back half of this. So here's the examples of what that would look like to not have an online store. For instance, you could go as low tech as possible if you want, have people phone in their orders, you write them down on pencil and paper, you pack their bags with their name on the bag or whatever it may be, in the package, whatever, and customers pay it normal at whatever market or pickup place that they have. If you want to offer prepay, again, you could consider signing up for Square, which is the central program, and processing their payment over the phone. I'll show you exactly how to do that in about 3 minutes. Another option, another variation on this, if you have an email list or social media following or anything, a text chain, whatever, anything like that, you could easily put together a menu of the things that you have. Again, this is a little farmer's market biased, but I think you could probably tweak it. And you could do this on your website too. Put together a menu of the things that you have to offer, either for a given week or in general, and then include instructions for how to do pre-ordering or how to call in an order. So call the number, email the order, etc. And again, you will be able to, if you sign up for Square, you will be able to take payment over the phone without having to go through and set up the whole online store. I know everybody's here for the online store thing, but there are at least some people who it's probably not necessary based on what they're looking to do. Okay, so the next little bit here, this is the fees question, and so all of the convenience of having an online store where all of the orders are put into one place, everything's directed and made easy, and the communications sped up, etc. All of that has a fee associated with it. They're going to charge you something for it, right? So in the case of Square, this is what it looks like. A couple things I'll draw your attention to. This here, there is no fee for the basic store, meaning if you put up an online store or Square, whatever, Square account, and you don't sell anything, they're not going to get charged for anything. All of the charges are going to be based on a per transaction fee. And again, you can go to squareup.com. This is where you can sign up for all this stuff. I'll show you what that looks like. I don't do too well in the abstract with things like this. Like, I don't know if 2.9% plus 30 sounds like a lot or a little. And so I just did a little quick math here. And I'll show you this. So these top three lines, the total revenue coming in is $500. The online store fees that will be charged based on the way that this revenue comes in are listed here. So you can see fewer transactions here, 25 of them, means you're going to have a lower fee. Again, remember, each transaction costs 30 cents. And so one of the things that I would take away from this in a broad sense and in a very specific sense is you don't have to have your online store have every single option that you sell. What I mean by that is, if you do a farmer's market, for instance, and you're going to have broccoli and you're going to have cabbage and you're going to have carrots and you're going to have beets, you don't have to list every single one of those individual items and have a bunch of people roll in and make $5 purchases if you don't want to. What you could do is you could put together a $20 cold crop or cool season crop box that has a head of cabbage and 2 things of broccoli and et cetera, et cetera. So in that case, what we're trying to do is we're trying to increase the value of each individual purchase and decrease the number of purchases. Now, you don't have to do that. If you want to have the online store be the exact same as your walk-up stand or whatever it is that you offer, I'm thinking the same thing about meat vendors, especially if you're going to start thinking about doing shipping or anything like that. I don't want to go through the hassle of shipping or maybe even selling a single ribeye. Maybe it just depends. You can do the math and see. I will say that this number down here, the 0 transactions of any amount for a total of $0, kind of has a double meaning here. On the one hand, if you don't do any transactions, they're not going to charge you anything, which is great. If this isn't $20 a month for a flat fee in order to be able to offer stuff online. The flip side of that, though, is if your normal market channel that you typically use goes away, suddenly $0 coming in. Now, you save a lot of money on fees that way, but this is you take no action, you don't offer an online store of any sort or any sort of online purchasing or pre-order option. I will say I'm going to back up real quick. The call in, like if somebody called in and you type it into your phone, the fee is slightly different. It's a little higher percentage and a little bit lower per transaction fee. But generally it works out to be around the same amount of fee. So I just wanted to make a quick note of that. Let me pop out real quick and check the Q&A. Yes, I will definitely send, okay, so somebody asked if I'll send the links out in an email later. Yes, I am. I have that email queued up, and what I'll do is once I get the recording posted, so I'm recording this, it'll be downloaded to my computer, I'll put it up on YouTube, and I'll share the link to that along with all these other fun links on the back end. So no worries if you're not getting that. How often do fees for accepting payments change? As far as I know, this hasn't changed in a couple of years. There's no, I think they have to give you notice if they're going to change it, but I would not expect this to change anytime soon. I think it's been pretty set at that level. And they're also, and I'll show you in a second, they're also very clear when you're processing certain types of payments. They're very clear about how much, like how much you're being charged in a given time. And so this number here that I've been showing is for the online store specifically. It's a little bit different if you swipe a card versus punching a card in, etc. Cool. Another first time Zoomer. That's awesome. Let me just pop into the chat real quick and see how that's going. So a transaction is per item ordered and not per customer. No. So that is if, like, so let's say, for instance, you have a $20 box of vegetables. Yeah, so 2.6 plus 10. Okay, sorry, let me answer the question in the way they come in. So a transaction is per item ordered, not per customer. No, it's per transaction. So if if one customer comes up and they buy $50 worth of stuff, you will be charged 30 cents for that transaction plus 2.9% of that $50. Now, if 10 individual people come up and they buy $5 worth of stuff each time that happens, you're going to get charged 30 cents for that transaction plus 2.9% of that $5. And so you want one person to buy $50 worth of stuff so that you only get that 30-cent transaction fee once. Now it's up to you. If you're able to generate enough sales that it doesn't matter, great. You have to do that math for yourself. But it is not per item; it's per customer. The percentage is the flat amount. So and Emily says their website says 2.6 plus 10 cents. So 2.6% plus 10 cents is if you are swiping a card in person. So if the person comes up to you at the market stand and you have a reader, you swipe it, boom, that is 2.6% plus 10 cents. If you punch it into your computer, or which I'm going to show you in a second, or you punch it into your phone, it's going to be, I think, 3.5% plus 15 cents. So the per transaction fee goes down. But my takeaway from that little chart is I wouldn't get super caught up from this chart. I wouldn't get super caught up in the fees, because overall, if I'm able to drive $500 more of revenue through my online store, $22 as a barrier to entry doesn't seem too terribly bad to me. So let me see here, make sure I'm getting everybody. Okay, Q&A. Yeah, keep dropping your stuff into the chat if you want. So yeah, so just as and we'll go in and I'll show you where the fees are listed. But yeah, so this is what the fees look like. Okay, so if you go to squareup.com, this is the first page you're going to see. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on these screenshots, mainly because they are pretty easy and self-explanatory. However, I know many of you, this is outside your comfort zone, and I'm really excited and happy that you're going to give it a go. This particular site, Square, does a really good job of holding your hand and walking you through this. And so they'll help you, remind you, and I'll show you some of those things here. But this is a comfort blanket. So if you end up here and you start clicking through, you can see, okay, we're on the right track. You can go follow along with the PowerPoint, which you can download on that site that I shared earlier. This is what it's going to look like. You could start a Square account, click that, and it'll take you to something that looks like this. I will note a lot of these screens are actually changing rapidly because Square is working overtime because of the COVID-19 stuff that's affecting small businesses. And so they're changing stuff up and making things more streamlined and adding new stuff. They're doing a great job, but it means that when you go through this process, it might look slightly different. So this one here, quick setup and remote and online features. That's what I selected. So that's if you want to do online sales and a web store, if you want to be able to do remote payments, etc. All the Square products and features, that's a little bit more advanced. At no point in any of these intro screens that I'm showing you are you going to select something that you can't later undo. Okay, that's something you got to remember, especially when you're doing the initial setup stuff with the Square. It is they try to make it in a way that you can't break it. At least ideally speaking. And so this is so you'll see here, you click on the Start Square account, you enter some information, it'll take you something like this. How can we help you? And so I would maybe select the first one, but you can do whichever one of those two you want, and it'll keep you going. This is where you enter in what kind of business you are. There may not be a good fit. There may be a good fit. This is not, you're not going to get in trouble with the IRS if you choose the wrong category. This is so you're telling them how to help them help you. So you're telling them, this is the type of business I am. And what they will do is they'll show you things that other similar businesses found useful through the platform. So if you say that you are a retail market, they're not going to show you a bunch of wholesale shipping options or something like that. If you are a church or a nonprofit group, they're not going to show you, sales heavy stuff. They're going to show you more. That's the main reason why they ask you this kind of thing. So for farmers markets, I put outdoor markets, but whatever. You could do individual business. You can just look through. Some of their categories are kind of odd, but no big deal. This is where, again, they're asking, how can we help you? I just selected the things that I thought would be useful. Accepting cards over the phone, which is, again, a lot of you, this is probably what you're looking for. Selling online, including pickup and delivery, which is exploding right now, as you might imagine. Accepting donations. Somebody asked about nonprofit stuff, so I thought I'd throw that in there too. Selling gift cards, etc. So you don't have to check these. This is just going to help guide you through setting those things up if it's something that's useful. Okay, I'm going to get through these, and I'm going to check the Q&A and questions again. Some of the other screens. Okay, so this is what devices will you use? I select both because I like to have my options open. I'm going to show you how to do this next. Okay, we had already one question. I think it might have been on the list of pre-questions that people sent in, but they asked about how do you get the money to you. So generally speaking, the way that it works is the customer comes to you and they give you a credit card in one form or another, whether that be an online store, whether that be at your market stand or at your business, you swipe something, or call ahead and you enter it. Any of those things, the process or the payment processing happens and the money goes from that card into a Square account, like that they control. Now, once you set up your bank account linked to your Square account, which it will help you walk you through and do, and I'll show you to remind you how to do it later. Once you do that, you can set so that it transfers the money from Square into your account directly, like a direct deposit, pretty much. You just do that, and sometimes that takes a couple of days, but one thing to note, you do not have to have your bank account fully linked and done to start accepting payments. So the bank account, if you've ever linked two bank accounts and they transfer some odd amount, like they transfer 23 cents into one account and then they remove it and you have to go to the other place and enter how much it was. So that, many of us have probably done this. They'll walk you through how to do it. That's what happens. And then once the person processes the payment, they take their cut, they take their fee, and they transfer the remaining amount into your bank account. But again, you don't have to have it linked. Like if you're in a big mad rush and you want to take payments tomorrow, you can get everything set up, start taking payments, and get the linking of your accounts started. And then once they're linked, then you can transfer the funds. But that's been at least one question about that, and that's how that works. Let's check the Q&A here. Is there a way you can charge the customer part or all of the fee? I've seen people do that before. Usually the way that I've seen that work has been more of like a cash discount. In general, this might be a new way of doing business for you. And it means that you have to evaluate the costs of doing business. And so if you need to adjust your price based on this new aspect, I think that that's a totally understandable thing to do. I would just, try to make that clear. I'm also of the opinion, I am not going to do something like this unless it either allows me to continue operating when I couldn't otherwise, or it's going to drive enough new business to me and there's enough of a value proposition, enough of a value for me and for the consumer, that the fee is like almost an afterthought. I do know going from here's a full amount of cash for what you make or for what you're charging to here's the thing that's going to be charged is an adjustment, and I totally understand that. But to me, I would be thinking about this mainly as the convenience should have a lot of value to it. Pop over to the chat here. Yeah, so we've got some people weighing in here. Yeah, there is a minimum order setting. If you want, you could also do that by only offering items that are of a certain amount, pre-packaged boxes, something like that. Let's see here. So Diane uses Square at the store. You can see your transactions throughout the day, send you an email and tells you what's deposited. So that's like asking about how the money goes from point A to point B. Let's see here. So I understand the fees per transaction, but is there a charge we have to pay to Square to use our business site? So if you're talking about the free basic online store that we're going through the process of right now, no, there is no fee associated with using the Square site. It's just on a per transaction. So if it just sits there dormant and nobody buys anything, there's not going to be any fee associated with it. Somebody mentioned that they add $1 service fee that they add on to any credit card purchases. I would assume, and that's just a matter of whatever you want to do with your business is your call. Credit cards are just sort of the standard now, and so let's see here. Yeah, so someone chimed in and said, I've used Square for years now, and I found at the market, if a customer has spent all their cash, I can usually make a sale by taking a card, so it helps capture those customers. Yeah, I can say that definitely has been the case for a lot of vendors we work with. Let's see, is there an option to add the fee to the sale automatically in the app? Maybe. I haven't explored that specifically. But yeah, that's definitely a little more of an advanced option, but I would say we can play around and see if that's the case. Yeah, I'm going to keep going here just because I don't want to spiral too much. Okay, so this is the last one here, the last screen that I ended up with, and then you can have these options to go and do something from that point. This is just going to take you for that first time to wherever you want to go. This isn't making any decisions that you can't take back. So Diana said that they were able to set up a fee built in. So there you go. I will say, as far as the online store itself, yeah, so somebody asked if there's a fee if the customer orders online and picks it up and pays cash. For the purposes of what we're doing today, the payment is going to be required at the time of purchase. But I would encourage you to maybe think about maybe using email or phone or that kind of thing to navigate that. Okay, I'm going to put the chat away for a little bit. These are great questions. I'll just pop back over periodically. So right now, what we're going to do is this first option. We're going to take our first virtual payment online with the first payment online with the virtual terminal. You could click on any of these and you can get wherever you need to go. Just want to show you, just orient you to what this is going to look like once we switch over. So this is the main Square dashboard. So once you've gone through all of the setup and you're logged in, or anytime that you log into Square, you'll probably see something that looks kind of like this. Now this red box is there to help you see where we're going to click. It won't be there, but hopefully you can see it, it's right at the top there. So I'm going to pop out of here and over to my log in here. So this is where we are going to end up when we log into the Square store. Okay. So this first step is if you are just going to do, I want somebody to call ahead and give me a pre-order and pay. This is how you would go about doing that. So we'll go to the virtual terminal here. Again, that was a red box around that. And we're going to go to take a payment. Now, again, I've already gone through all the steps to set up this account, and I'm into the main Square system here. So when this pops up, I'm going to have a couple of different options. So this is, again, somebody calls me and they say, okay, this is what I want, A, B, C, D, and E item, whatever. And I say, okay, that's going to come to a total of $32. So if I want to do quick charge, all I would do is type in $32. And if you want to just add a description of what this is, you can. And then you can add a customer. So we'll just put my name right now. And we'll create a new customer in this case. And I would highly recommend adding an email address and a phone number to the order, so that way you can contact them, but also so they can receive an email copy of the receipt that you can send. And so that's how you would add that. You'd add a new customer, and then they'll be in the system from then on. So if they order again, you can process it this way if you want. Now, again, I mentioned the fee difference. So manually enter card, and I'm on my computer here. So you can do this on the phone as well. And that's going to be your charge associated with 3.5% and 15 cents. If you have to order a card swiper from them. But if you have a card swiper, you can see the fee is 2.6 plus 10 cents. I think the main reason why this is because it's easier for them to prevent fraud with the swipes. And so the additional risk that they incur, they charge you for here. I think that's why that is. I don't know if it's also more expensive to process, but I don't have a card swiper. I'm not going to have one right now. I'm just trying to get pre-orders processed. I ask them what their card number is. I enter it in. I enter in the expiration date, the billing zip code, and the little code on the back, 3-digit code. And then I hit charge. It's really as simple as that, okay? The other option, and this requires a little bit of the content that we're going to have in the second half of the webinar about the online store. The other option is an itemized sale. And to me, as a person who regularly encourages people to do record keeping, this would be the way that I would go about doing it. Now, this requires that you have gone into your Square account and you have added items for sale, which we're going to cover how to do that in a minute. But this is the bare bones. I just want to accept credit card payments as simply and painlessly as possible for pre-order, so then people can pick stuff up or I can ship it to them or whatever. This is the most dead simple. You just point and shoot, right? This is just a little bit more advanced, the itemized sale. And so what this allows you to do, and I only have a couple of items in my store currently, but if you have items that you've added, this allows you to say, okay, I'd like to add some kale. And they tell you on the phone, okay, I'd also like a little bit of broccoli. Now this is offering two different options. They're big broccoli fans, so they say they'd like a quart. Again, getting these into the system is a separate process that we'll go over in just a second. But the beauty of this is now this order invoice receipt thing is much more detailed, and all of this is going to be saved on the back end. Now, if you want to collect tax, that's something you have to set up separately. It just depends. I know everybody does it a little bit differently, but that's going to be dependent on the business, depending on the good and all that kind of stuff. You can still add a note, whatever you want to do. If you want to add, this is going to be for pickup at whatever, etc. And then again, add the customer, add the digits, and you're off to the races. Okay? So let's just take a breath for just a second. I've shown you how to do this, and I've given you kind of the roadmap for how to get there. You're not going to be able to navigate this as quickly as I am right now immediately. But there's plenty of people, maybe even some on this call, who are way faster at navigating this even than I am. So I just want to keep that in perspective. This is going to take time. This is just like any other skill. It's like driving stick in a car. It's like riding a bike. Think about the first time you tried to ride a bike. You maybe crashed and burned. In this case, we're not going to crash and burn. Everything's going to be fine. But you got to be okay with the fact that this is a skill that you're going to have to build over time. Okay? So again, this, you could be on the phone and somebody tells, and I've ordered stuff, curbside food from restaurants here in town this exact way. I call them, I tell them I want the fish and chips and a Coke to go. And they tell me, okay, it'll be, $13 and whatever. And I give them my credit card number. They enter it in. I go and just pick it up and roll. I think even if you're able to do just this type of payment processing can rapidly, it can really speed up a lot of the traffic at certain locations. If you have a retail location or you're part of a farmer's market or whatever it may be, it can really speed that up quite a bit. And so that's the name of the game. What we're trying to do here, we're trying to make incremental change using these cool technologies that are so much easier to deal with than they were 5, 10 years ago. Okay, let's see here. Got maybe a question. So let's see. If I sell online and then I deliver the product, is that considered on-farm sale? What if the order is sent by mail? Looking at regulations, they say prepared food can be sold at farmers markets, roadside stands, or on farm. So it depends on that's a very specific, it's a good question. It's a specific one. Um, in general, there's information about like the home-based processors and home-based microprocessors and who's allowed to do what. And I know under some of that, there are provisions allowing local delivery. So if you process the payment, you can deliver locally. And this is a question I personally would follow up with KDA to ask them about the provisions for that on farm versus, a drop off point or whatever that may be. So for prepared food, especially, that's definitely a local health department and KDA type question, but it's a good one. And you can definitely process those types of payments in this system. Suppose individual vendors each already have their own Square account. Is it feasible for our market manager to set up a centralized online store with a menu of that week's individual farmers' offerings and provide links to the individual vendors' Square accounts? I'm seeing that each vendor could assume the transaction fees for their own sales. Yes, so I think I think, Martha, that's a good question. So I think one thing would be the curation of the links to all of the individual stores. I think another option that would require a ton of coordination and trust and everything else between vendors and between the market would be to try and have an online store for the farmers market that the individual vendors send what they have, the manager puts everything up, things are processed, in a certain timeline, and then we aren't taking any more orders after Thursday afternoon at 5, and then the order list is kind of put out to the vendors, and you're able to assemble that. I mean, that's going to require a lot of individual coordination, but I think, yes, at the very least, offering a centralized place for all of the individual Square stores would be really, really helpful thing. And if I were a customer, I am a customer of farmers markets, having those at some of them that I've seen is a really helpful thing. So yes, I definitely would agree with that. That's the questions in the chat here. So the question right now, Square is offering curbside pickup for free. What happens when this is no longer free? Yeah, I think they're going to start charging a fee. I don't know what that's going to look like. I honestly don't know. And that would be something to reevaluate when it happens. A lot of this is going to be, I think there's going to be a lot of change and triage on certain things happening over the next little bit, but so I don't know. Let's see here. Okay. Yes, it will be recorded. Michelle, can you accept PayPal on this online store? No, this is just going to be for Square, but the PayPal process will be similar. That might be something we end up following up to do. According to Square, it will be $60 a month. This is a lot. Yeah. So that's for curbside. I'm not sure what for pickup orders it'll be, if it's going to be the same. But I would also note that it won't go like the being able to call in a number. I don't think that would apply to that, but yeah, I do think that the fees are gonna happen. I would go back to, depending on and I don't know if that number is set in stone. We'll see. They're changing things on that site daily, but yeah, that is something to keep in mind, is that there will be fees associated with this going forward. Okay, I'm going to pop back off here and just keep moving through the demo here. Okay, so we covered kind of how to accept credit cards over the phone. Here's the basic screens and the PowerPoint, again, if you want to print that out. So this is what the online store builder looks like. So if you've decided, okay, we do want to actually have an online store, and just to give you a sense, it'll look something like this. It'll be a website. There aren't any items here because we're going to build it. But if you want an online store where people can go online and place their order, this is the section. This is where we're going to, and I realized that was the name of the webinar, But the point being, one of the points I wanted to make is that all of the different online components of sales kind of fit together, and different people are going to need them at different times. So as far as getting to the online store from that little dashboard thing that we were on a second ago, here's our virtual terminal. Up here is clicking on the online store. When you click on that, it's going to take you in to your store dashboard. And that is what this is what that looks like. So what I want to just briefly do is orient you to the different components of this dashboard. And then we'll actually go back into the browser and mess around with building and adding in and showing you some skills that you can apply to building your store. Okay, so these are the different components. I'm going to start with this setup guide down here at the bottom. Just go through a little bit about what those look like, again with screenshots, so you can go back and look at the PowerPoint later, which is available for download on the Links website that I'll send out. This is the little menu here. This is one of the main places that a lot of the controls are going to be located. And I'm going to have another slide where I show some of those things. This is important, but you know, this right here currently is the link to the site that we that for our store. So this is the link that I would send to my customer if I was trying to show them where they could go online and buy stuff. This is how you're going to get into editing the website. There's other methods there, and then this is your main controls up here for the account, things like linking bank accounts and that sort of thing. So this is, again, I'm going to just back up real quick. This is the setup guide down here. You can see it says 6 of 9. This is like your homework. This is the checklist of items that you're going to try to complete. And again, Square is helping you to guide you through this process. So this is what those different tiles look like. Designing your website, that's the bulk of what we're going to do today, is going in and actually editing photos and adding stuff in and adding items. So that we're going to check that one off. Add an item to sell, that's a part of that. So I'll show you how to do that. Connecting the domain. The domain is just the site that you're sending people to. In some cases, you can link it out to a different, to your own, your existing web page. You can also just have a copy and paste link that you can share out on social media, etc. So you have the option of either connecting it to your current website, or as I did, again, right here, you can see ccd/uky.square.site. I had Square just create this for me, and that was free. So let's see here, add an item to sell, connect domain. Verify your identity. This is exactly what it sounds like. You're going to link bank accounts, all that kind of stuff. Add item images. This is a very important one. We'll talk about it more here in a minute, but the modern internet is governed by images. It's driven by images, so it's really important that you add those. Set up shipping rates. That's a whole conversation unto itself. I'll talk a little bit about where it's located and what you might think about, and I have links again on that website about shipping perishable products and that kind of thing. A lot of the shipping stuff is going to be, you're going to have to assess what the rates and timelines are locally and work that out. There are ways to kind of configure that. Again, I'll show you that here in a few minutes. Enabling in-store pickup and delivery. This is the bread and butter of what a lot of people are looking at right now. And curbside is part of that, but in-store pickup is also another part of that. Or on, having a pickup location at a farmer's market or something like that. Collecting taxes, we set that up. And then the last one here is publish your website. This is the number one thing I think people forget to do when they're editing. At the end of the session, you get everything looking really nice, and you don't click the publish button. And I'll show you that in a second. But until you do that, all the changes that you make aren't going to be visible to the public. They're saved. You don't have to do them again, but you got to make sure you hit the publish at the end there. Again, this is I'm just showing you when you go to actually start setting this up for yourself, they're providing you with some help, a checklist of the things to do down here. And they'll do things like give you reminders. So right here, to transfer money to your bank account, complete your Square account setup. So you need to, they'll give you reminders and kind of hold your hand through this process. This is one of the reasons why I think this is one of the simpler things, easier to manage. Okay. These are the menus. Again, I'm just trying to orient you now and later when you go into the site builder. These are the things that I think are some of the most important. So this on the left here in the blue frame is the main menu. And then these are just these individual submenus expanded. Now the color coding is mine. That will not be on the real site, but it's just to show you this thing. If you expand it, this is what it looks like. So the key things here are general settings and edit site. If you know what these things are, great. This is a simple setup thing, but if you're interested in people finding you on the internet, if you're interested in integrating into social media, explore those, go for it. But edit site, that's how you can get in to edit the web store itself. It's one of the two ways you can do that. Over here on the right-hand side at the top, I think maybe the most important for initially setting up stores is the items section. So your item library is going to be all of the different items that you have to sell at any point. So not all of them will show up in your web store necessarily, but that will make more sense when we actually go into the item library. You can categorize them as obviously there. Gift cards, offering gift cards, that's going to be under items in the left-hand menu here. Under settings, the general one is the one that I use the most, but the pickup and delivery settings is another one, and the shipping. These are the two where you're going to be able to set up when people place orders on your online store, how to do manage shipping and pickup and delivery. We're going to go in and look at the store here in a second. Let's see. So at this point, okay, let's go back into full screen. So at this point, we've kind of covered down here. This is where all the little help items are. This is your main menu bank. Up here, this is very like general account settings. So if you want to go up there on the top hand right. So in the middle here, middle top where I have the yellow box, it says CCD UKY. That link there is how you're going to help allow people to shop. The last one we have to cover here are these buttons. So edit website and manage store. And so if you click on the edit website button, it's going to take you in to something that looks kind of like this. Okay. Again, I just want to have as much of a orientation roadmap ahead of time before we jump into the site builder and get lost. And so there's a couple of things I want to draw your attention to. One is if at any point you want to return to this dashboard, if at any point you want to go back here from your store, you're going to click this red, the X up here that's circled in red on the screen, return to dashboard. So at any point you don't want to be in the site builder anymore, you go here. The other thing is on this left-hand side, this menu bank here, each of these items corresponds to a section of the page. I think it's very intuitive. And so I have some arrows here. So the header is controlling the items at the top here. The main banner is controlling these. The spinach picture with the get caffeinated thing. The email subscription line is controlling this. And you can see it's been in the screenshot, it's been clicked on. And when it's clicked, it highlights it blue. We can delete these, we can move these, we can edit these, but the left-hand sidebar here is how you control all of those different elements. Okay, so that's our little roadmap. One last little thing before we jump into the site builder all the way. I want to make everything that I've put in, the slides that I've put in orange are either really important or there's something that's a change of topic. This is really important, I think, as someone who's built a lot of different websites, as someone who's managed a web store in the past for stuff that I made. The more organized that you can be, I would say, in the analog world ahead of going into building this site, the more smoothly your digital work will go. What I mean by that are these kind of very specific recommendations. So one would be in some sort of electronic document, whether it be a Word document or an electronic note or something, take the time to make a list of the products that you want to sell online. Okay, you can do this on a week-to-week basis if you want, but you have the option to add everything at once or add them, add a bunch of stuff at once. So you can go ahead and add your pumpkins and just not show it in the online store until you have something to sell. So anyway, make a list of the products and take the time, put on your marketer hat and take the time to write a nice text description for each of those items. Okay, so include what makes it unique, what makes it special, something, if it's local, is it a particular production system? Is it a particular breed of animal that you're selling, a particular, type of egg from a particular type of hen? Is it an heirloom variety of bean? Whatever it may be, the text description of what you would tell someone if they walked up to you, is it a craft item that uses reclaimed wood? What's the species? Those types of considerations. Go ahead and write that couple sentence text description in again in that same Word document, and save that in a place where you know where it is. The third step here: collect at least one nice picture of each item that you plan to put out, and it doesn't have to be the exact one. People are going to have to deal with the fact that they don't get to pick out the exact head of broccoli that they want. But phones, the cell phone that you have, that I have, the digital camera in it is nicer than the first 3 or 4 digital cameras that I owned. And phones take great pictures now. So there's not, somebody probably has a phone that's going to be able to take a picture like that. Please don't skip this step. Take those pictures, take a picture of every single item, maybe take your list and make sure you have it, and go and take a picture of all those different items and store them in a folder, maybe in the same folder with that document. You will thank me when the time comes to go and build this store that you have done this ahead of time. The last thing to note, if you're going to use the store to track stock, which it has that functionality, and so it's a good thing to help avoid you accidentally overselling. Make a note also, this would be more on a week-to-week basis, make a note of how much stock you have in that particular item. Okay, so this is something that most of us, I think all of us, can do to be organized ahead of this without any web skills at all. You can do this to make your life a little bit easier. Okay, I'm going to pop out real quick and just check the chat and Q&A. Will everything work the same with this? So I already have a credit card through my bank. Will everything work the same with this processor, or do I need to change to Square? So what we're talking about right now is just using the Square account. Now, I don't know if I don't know that there's any particular, if you're trying to do an online store, for instance, there's no particular reason that you couldn't have the Square account separate from the account that you take credit cards through your bank, and have them both just going into your account. Like you're not, I don't think there's going to be any penalty or problem with that. So, but I don't, as far as the processor goes, the processor is Square, and that's kind of how they make their money, by charging you a fee to accept credit cards. So not a great answer, but an answer. Let's see here in the chat. So just a reminder, so if the print is small and can't make it out, I minimized it. Hopefully, I don't know, if you're talking about the actual the screen, oh no. Well, that's a bummer. Maybe I should try to zoom in a little bit. I'll try to zoom in a little bit and see if that helps. I have a feeling it's probably something related to bandwidth. So yeah, for stock, you can go into your Square settings and note your stock, and it will sync your store automatically. Yeah, I'm going to show that here in a few minutes. So what's the difference between Square Online Store and Squarespace? So Squarespace is a website builder, which is a separate thing. Now these things can be integrated, but it's a different thing. And actually, Square now owns Weebly. This is all very convoluted, but Weebly is actually a direct competitor to Squarespace. But if you have a Squarespace account, there's all kinds of different ways to integrate. It goes a little beyond the scope, but yeah, there is a difference between Square and Squarespace. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to close out these and try to maybe zoom in a little closer. This video, if you're having issues viewing the video, I would say going back to your once I post this, if it looks blurry to you, once I post this online, you should be able to go back and view this again. Sorry if that's causing issues for you. Okay, so I'm going to back up here. Let me see if I can. Okay, so try to make it a little bit bigger for you here. Okay, well, hopefully that's a little bit better. If it's not, I'm sorry. Um, it could just be the blurriness of it. So, okay, we're on this main page. Again, here's the virtual terminal if you wanted to go in and take cards. I'm just going to click on the online store right here, and this is going to take us into that dashboard that we just talked about. Maybe. Okay, and so what this is showing us here, we got the menus over here on the left, we got the reminders down here. Again, we're familiar with this thing here. So what we're going to do now is I want to go ahead and go in to edit the website. And this is going to take me into a website builder. And again, you'll notice it says Weebly up here. That's because the website builder itself is offered through Weebly, which is cool. Again, on the left here, we got all these different things. And you can see as I hover over it, the blue section is highlighted what I'm going to change. And so, for instance, on my header, if I want to add, so all I did was I just clicked on this. If I want to add a logo, I can add, if I don't have a text logo, or sorry, if I don't have an image logo, I can add, so I have CCD Farms here that I typed in. If you wanted it to be my farm, whatever you want it to be. The other option here is to do an image, and you can add an image. And so for me, I'm going to, I have my trusty, see how I did what I said that you should do? I have a little folder here with all of the fancy things that I want to use for my store. And I'm going to take it, I'm just going to drag it up here and drop it. Okay. And what it's going to do is it's going to put my logo up here. That's nice. That's fancy. You can see how easy, relatively straightforward and easy this is. So, okay, I've done that. Cool. Just a couple of other options up there for what it's worth. If you want an action button, something that says order now, you can do that. I don't really want that because it's all going to be on the same page. You can turn these things off and on. I'm not going to go deep into the navigation side of things. Hopefully people are able to still see this. Okay, so for my main banner, I'm trying to sell a market stand. So a cup of coffee and get caffeinated aren't necessarily the messages that I am going to go for here. And so I'm going to click on that, and it's going to open this guy here. And as I hover on this, it shows me the different components that I'm going to change. And so for instance, on the banner headline, I think I'd like this to say, something like that. Boom, done. All I did was just click on here and that's it. It's a lot of the stuff is point and shoot. The other thing I can change under the section style, again, the cup of coffee is nice, but I think I'd like something that reflects my brand a little bit more. In here, it's showing me all of the different images that I've used in the past. And so I have this one ready to go. It's in my folder as well over here, but I'm going to go ahead and use it. So I'm going to click it. I'm going to hit save. And now it should update and show me, okay, great. Now my banner looks a little bit more like something that I'm looking for. Okay, these are all just design considerations, but they do help to make it look a little bit nicer, and they are kind of fun and creative way to get a little distraction. Okay, so let's scroll down here. These are our featured items, and as you can see right now, I don't have anything featured. I don't have anything that's showing. And so if I go, let's just go ahead, and so I'm for now I'm done. I'm going to hit publish, and it should publish. Okay, cool. Now, if I go, this is the storefront that my customers are going to look at, and I haven't reloaded this, so I'm going to go ahead and reload it, and it should show my new updates. Great, this looks great, this looks great. You can still see, though, there's no featured items available. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this section. You can click on it here or up here. Click on it here, and we can, if we want to try to add a new item, we can do it here, and that's great. I would recommend that we go and add the item in a different place. So I'm going to click the X here, and I'm going to actually leave this section for now. And I'm going to, remember, I want to go back to that dashboard, the main dashboard for the store. I'm going to hit the X. And now we're back to the dashboard for the store. Now remember I said one of the key things is going to be items. So I'm going to click items here, and I'm going to go into my item library. What we're going to see is a couple of items that I have already added in the past. You might remember these from the how to accept the online or the payment over the phone. These were some of the options that I had available. These are items that I specifically added. So let's go ahead and look at broccoli, for instance. So I created this item. This is the picture that I uploaded, and I said this is a physical option, or sorry, a physical item. So you have other options for what type of item it is. Now, if I know there's some people with nonprofit and other things, if you're trying to accept donations and membership, you can process it that way. If you have a digital file you want to give to people, etc. You can see there are different types of items that you can offer. I'm going to keep it as a physical option because it's a retail physical item. Item thing is here. Just the simple description. Now, do as I say, not as I do, but let's just say, cool. So you should have a better description than this in an ideal world. Right now, I have this item listed as unavailable. What that means is nobody but me is going to be able to see it. I have it this way because I don't want anybody to go and buy broccoli right now because I haven't updated things, okay? You can also switch it to visible, and that will make it visible wherever you have decided to show it off. You can do hidden, which is if somebody has a direct link to the item, they can still buy it, but it won't show up necessarily in a public, in your store or whatever that may be. I'm going to leave it on unavailable for right now, and I'll show you in a second why. And I've set it up for pickup and delivery. Okay, you can set this up on an item by item basis, what things are available. Down here, I've added actually 2 different variations on this item. Again, all of this was not like this before, and we're going to create a new item so you can see what it looks like when you start fresh. But I have sell these in pints and quarts. You can see here, I have entered some stock information. This is useful for a couple of reasons. One, for your business, it's useful because then it tells you how much stuff is available, how much you've sold. It helps you keep track of records. The other useful thing is if you are processing phone payments and you're processing online store payments and all these things are happening and you only have 15 pints of broccoli to sell, it won't allow you to oversell those. Now it's going to make me, I'm going to click on this, it's going to make me save it before I do anything. And that's fine. I'm going to hit save. So now I have the option. Right now I have 15 in stock. Now, if I was doing this for the first time, I would have to go to either stock received or inventory recount, whichever one of those you want to do. But each of these items either adds or subtracts stuff from your stock, and it tells you the reason that it is. So like the best way to do it would be, okay, if I have 15 to sell and I sell 10 of those this week and 5 are left over and I eat them or I compost them or whatever, I would go and hit loss and I would say -5 and I would hit save. And the 10 that are sold was taken out of sales, the 5 that are taken, now my stock is back to 0. Now if that's too advanced, don't worry about it. But you might have to turn on the track stock section when you do this. You can also, at any time, if you just want to start fresh with a new number, you can do inventory recount and just put in however much it is. And we'll just do 25, or let's do 30 pints currently available of this particular item. Let's update that. And now when I hit save and I go back into broccoli, you can see my stock of pints is now changed. Again, this is mainly important for not overselling stuff and also being able to keep track of how much you have. Okay, so that's the broccoli one. That's probably the more complicated of the two. So let's back out here. Let's take a look at the kale just real quick, and now you can just see the difference. Physical item, kale, this is, put that in there. One thing I will note as we look down here, down below, you can see I only have one item. A little quirk of the online store that I don't particularly care for is if you don't have multiple items, it doesn't tell you on the main ordering page what the units are, if that makes sense. And so I always try to add in, if I need to, I add in how much it's for, if it's just a particular amount. I know this picture isn't of kale. I had a picture of spinach ready to go, and so I just used it. So I'm sorry for the mismatch according of pictures. Again, I have this unavailable for now. That's okay. Pickup and delivery, okay. just setting, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to set these up for each item. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to the item library. So now, as of right now, we have these two items. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share. Create a new item in my item library. Okay, I'm going to create, and so you can see this is what it looks like from the get-go. And so we have item type physical. I'm going to do strawberries. Okay, and I'm going to say amazing description. Again, do as I say here, not as I do. And I'm gonna, yeah, so we're gonna have multiple different sizes. So right here is where I'd put my image in. You can either click here and select where it goes, or you can actually open up your file. And I have a picture of strawberries here. I'm just gonna drop those in and it's gonna upload. And while it's thinking, down here, I've still got pickup and delivery set up. You know, be careful with this. You don't necessarily want to select something that is going to cause, you know, if you put shipping in, people are going to accidentally click shipping and they're going to expect you're going to ship them a quart of strawberries. So just be aware of that. Now down here, this is where how it is just from the get-go. And so, for instance, this says regular. So what I would say is, let's change this to what the item size that we want to sell. So we'll do quart. Now, if I want to have also pints and sell them for a little more per unit, I can do that too. Okay, and so we hit done. The price, I'm just going to go ahead and enter the price. Let's say it is $5 for a quart and $3 for a pint. Great. All right, I got my picture uploaded here, and I'm not going to, you can, now I'll go ahead and do it. Why not? Hit save. Yeah, we'll just leave that alone for now. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit save. And now you can see we have strawberries available here. And it's currently, let's go ahead and make it unavailable for now. So on here, you can see all three of these are unavailable. So, and again, going back to our online store, there is nothing showing up right now. Okay. So in the past, I had made broccoli and kale featured items in my store. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make all of these items visible. I'm going to go to my online store and I'm going to refresh. Okay, this is real time. So what you can see now is I can go in as a shopper. This is, again, the view that your shopper is going to get. I can go in here and I can select what I want and I can order. And if I try to put in, let's see, I try to put in 50 quarts, it's going to drop it back to 20. So I'm hitting 50 and it's dropping it. 20 is the most that I have in stock. If other people had bought these, it's going to automatically reduce and say, and keep the person from buying too much more than what we have. Okay. Now the keen-eyed observer will notice that strawberries is not here. The reason for that is because while I have made the item visible in my general Square account, I have not added it as a featured item in my store. Okay, I started off talking about how Square is like the central. I like to think of Square as the combination of the warehouse and the bookkeeping office, the central Square platform. It's where the payments get processed. It's where the stuff is organized and arranged, but it is not where you show anything to a customer. Your online store, your physical market stand, your brick and mortar location, those are the places where items are displayed to the public and payment is received in. So right now we have said that strawberries are available in our warehouse, in our item library, but we have not gone into our web store and told them, okay, show this as a featured item, put these out on the shelves, basically. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go again back into edit our site. This is what we've done multiple times before already. We're going to go in there And we're see our featured items now are showing up, which is great. And that's because I made broccoli and kale featured items in the past. So I'm going to click on the featured items section, and I'm going to say, okay, here are the items that are currently in there. I want to add a featured item. Okay, so I clicked, I'll just show you that again. I just clicked add a featured item. And now here this is showing me my item library, all the things that I have available in my central square item library. And I want to make strawberries visible too. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And now suddenly strawberries are available. And if we go over to the main store where people are going to view it, I'm going to refresh it. And suddenly, what did we forget to do? In this case, we forgot to publish. So I'm going to hit the publish button, and this is going to update all of the settings and put those out into the public. This is what I'm telling you. This is why I always recommend having the actual store open and see if it's showing up the way that you want it to show up. So I'm going to hit publish, and it's going to think for a second. Cool. Now, if we go here, it should, hopefully, if we did everything right, it shows up. Okay. And so people can go in here and they can order what they want, and it's going to limit the stock because of the way that we set up the item. And yeah, let's see. I'm going to take a look at my notes here on what else I want to cover. So we changed all these different elements. Let's say hypothetically, okay, so I put this in. This is something for like nonprofit people. You do have the option of setting up an annual fund or some sort of donation of some sort. But for my business, this was automatically populated in here. For my business, I'm going to close this. This guy right here, this donation one, is not really helpful for me. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to this little bar. See the donation bar? The little ribs allow you to grab it and move it up and down in the page, the little lines here. The little dots are a menu. This is pretty similar to a lot of other places. You go to the menu here, and you can move it up or down if you want. If you don't want to drag it, you can move it to a different page. We only have one page on this site because it's simple. You could copy it if you want to make an identical thing, or you can delete it. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and delete that, and now it's gone. Okay. Another thing that you might, you can obviously update your location and hours the same way. I've just put in some filler language here, and you can change the address that the map is. So let's say Frankfort, Kentucky, and it'll now show the map there. So you could, wherever your pickup location is, if you want to do it that way. If you want to add, again, this is all relatively simple. If you want to add something to this page, you just click, just right down here is the add section, just below all these other ones, add section. And in this case, I want to add some text, let's say, okay? And I want it to say, this page is for pre-orders for pickup at downtown market. And you could put the details of whatever it may be. You can also call in orders at 555-555-5555, something like that. This one's something I don't need, so I'm going to turn it off. This one's something I don't need, so I'm going to turn it off. Now, this isn't super helpful to me down here, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my main thing. Now, this text is what I just put in. I'm going to take and I'm going to drag that up just above my items so that when people shop, they can see, here's the instructions. That's just an example of how you could handle this, okay? Let's see here. If at any point you don't want to have this guy open and you just want to see, and you don't want to necessarily publish stuff yet, you can always click the preview button, and it will actually show you a live preview of what your customers would see if you published right this second. Okay, so you scroll down. The cool thing, especially about this, is you have computer view and you also have mobile view, which is pretty neat. And so this is just showing you, just so you know what stuff looks like. You can put your higher dollar stuff toward the top if you want. It's just a way, again, for people, for you to view how the users are going to experience this. Okay. Let's see here. Adjusting your hours is another thing you can do. Let's see here. Okay. One other just quick skill I want to show you, or one thing to do, is if you are doing pickup for a particular market day or a particular centralized drop off of some sort. I know there's a lot of people who are doing that. You're not going to want to have all of these things available all the time, right? So you want to have limits on what time people can come in and order things, etc. I haven't looked into the automated. I'm sure there is a way to automatically do it, but the simplest way to take things down so that people can't view them is to go again back into them on my stores dashboard. I go to the items and I go into my item library. I select all of them and I hit mark as unavailable. Don't delete them. You don't want to add them again. Just hit mark as unavailable. Okay, now they're going to disappear. And so if you go to my store, they're gone. Okay, so this means that you can, and you could also, if you wanted to add text, so let's go back to the site. If you wanted to add text that said something along the lines of orders only accepted, Monday 8 a.m. through Friday at noon. You could add that. And that way, when people see that there's not anything there, it's because it's Friday at 6 p.m. and you are trying to put things together. Again, a reminder, our little text box here is not showing up on our live page because we did not yet hit publish. So now I've hit publish and suddenly, reload, the text is showing up. So if something's not showing up, you probably forgot to publish. Okay, I still have a couple other things that we can talk about. I'm just gonna, let's see here. I'm just gonna pop over the chat and just see what's going on. Let's see. Can your customers see the level of stock you have? All that happens is it just adjusts the way that you, or sorry, it adjusts. I'm trying to multitask here and my brain's not keeping up. It will not let them buy more than there is in stock, if that makes sense. It'll just automatically adjust it down, but it will not show you that. You could say, that's why sometimes people will put limited stock available, order soon, or something like that. You can limit, like if somebody's trying to order a ton of stuff, you can limit how big of a bulk purchase they can make and say, contact us for larger bulk purchases. I've got a question. If building the store you stop to finish later, will the work be saved without publishing, or does it all have to be all done at once? And can you have multiple locations? So two different questions there. So the first thing, it will save everything even if you don't publish. And so when you think about like websites that are rolling out and getting ready, and this is the same case with like building a personal website or a business website, you can do all this work and all this work and all this work and then hit publish at the end. So yeah, it will save drafts all the way along the way. Some of the individual pages have like a save button, like in the items, for instance. Let's see. Like an item, let's say I want to go in here and change something on broccoli. It has a save feature, and so if you add this stuff and you don't hit save, so like let's say I delete this description and that's what I really want to do, if I don't hit save and I hit cancel or I just navigate away, it's going to say you have unsaved changes. Yes, I want to save it, or cancel, don't save it. Cancel, don't move. So those individual things you want to make sure you save. But multiple locations, that's what I'm going to talk about here in just 1 second. If you have different markets, do you have to set up separate stores for each market? No. Next question. No, I'm just kidding. I'll show you that here in a second. Can you do multiple stores, for instance, one to CSA and one for market pickup? You can. So this is a little bit more of an advanced topic, and I think I'm going to show you how to get in there and play around with it yourself. But this may not be a totally satisfactory option for everybody, so we may need to cover this a little bit more in depth. So I'm going to not change my broccoli stuff. Yes, I'm sure I want to exit. So this is one, and this is why I say patience and determination and confidence is important. This is one that took me way longer than it should have to figure out where this stuff is. So you can set up multiple different locations, and you can offer multiple different, like you can have all items available at each pickup, or you could have just the big box of goodies available at one place and individual stuff available at another place. You could change that on a per item basis. So the way that you do that is you go in here, go to home, go all the way back to your central square, warehouse and bookkeeping office. This is the main square thing. Go to accounts and settings. Sorry, I did that kind of quick. Let me go back. Go here to accounts and settings in this menu, the little cog. You can see why this is was kind of hard to find. Go down to business and go to locations. Okay. So currently I have one location. I have it called on farm for like on farm pickup, but you could call it whatever you want. Now the issue here, what you would want to do if you have multiple locations is you're going to go and hit create location. I just so happen to, in my trying to figure out all the questions people might ask, I created another location, and I called it the Lexington Farmers Market. That's where I live, is Lexington. And I'm going to click on it here, and this is where if you did a new one, you would do enter all this information for the first time. It's got a business address. It have to be an accurate address. It will not let you do anything if you don't. Logo. Anything if there's a particular it's much more complex. The business hours stuff you can change for an individual location, etc. And so what you can do here, let's go ahead and reactivate this. Again, this is not the full in-depth on how to have multiple locations, and sometimes I still mess it up, but so now I have multiple active locations. And so when I go to my, let's say my online store, and I go into my item, so let's do, dang it, let's go back to my item library. Sorry. That's what I'm saying. Let's see here, item library. We can just do it in here. I'll just show you in here. So if I was going to make these available, I'm going to click here, and down here you can manage the stock for different places. I'm going to have to go back and enable pickup for this one since I disabled it. But so that's one thing. You can have stock for each location. I think one flaw or issue that I've seen, and I haven't found a good solution, and I have checked all the forums, is that you can't have I have a total of 10 dozen eggs, and I'm trying to distribute them through 4 different market channels. So you have to actually set the stock for each individual market channel. It's annoying, but that is one negative thing I've found so far. So I'm actually going to go back. So let's cancel this for now. And so remember back in the PowerPoint, I showed you that down here under settings, one of the things was pickup and delivery, and one was shipping. So I'm going to go into pickup and delivery here. And I said, allow pickup for this location. That's my on-farm store. Now, at the Lexington Farmers Market location, if I had a separate location, I want to allow pickup at this one as well. And so it took me, I don't know what it just did. this is like, okay, and then down here at the bottom you can say this is for pickup at Lexington Farmers Market, maybe. And you can do address if you wanted to enter the address, and we'll hit save. Okay, so now you can see pickup is allowed at this location. I would want to edit the hours as well if I was doing this for real. Pickup's allowed at this location. So now we have 2 different places that pickup is allowed. That is now saved. So I'm going to go to my items real quick. I'm going to go to my item library, and I'm going to go ahead and turn all of these on like I was going to launch my market store for the week. And then I'm going to go to my actual store here. All right, let's see. Let's go into the edit site. Again, this is all steps that you're familiar with. It's just after you mess with it enough, you start to get a sense of what the different buttons do. Edit item detail. So I'm going to tweak this a little bit. Let's see here. Okay, this should be okay. This should be ready to go. I've got pickup and delivery set. So let's just go ahead and see, because these items should show up now. Here, let's just see what it looks like for the customer to go in and try to buy something. So I'm going to say I want a quart, add it to my cart. And let's see, it's got pickup Saturday, and this, you could have the language be better here. You could change this and have them select a different location. So instead they want to do that here, okay? And if I hit checkout, it should give me the option again, I think. So I've got my information entered here. Let's hit next. And again, they have another option here to change the location. So yes, you can do multiple different pickups. Again, the only downside to that I have found is they may overlook it possibly, but there is multiple times they can change it. The other thing is, again, that's managing the stock. Like if we go here and we edit the item details, you cannot have one central amount of inventory that these different stores draw from. And so like if I go here, I now have 2 locations showing up, so you can see that. So if I just want to track stock, I have to track them in 2 different places. I don't think that's a huge deal, but it is a little bit of a minor annoyance. And there's a couple of people with very similar complaints on a lot of the Square forums. But for a lot of the other functionality, I don't think, it's just something you got to kind of work around. Maybe somebody in the audience has experience with that. Let's see, chat. Yep, and so it hopefully you saw hopefully you saw the way to set up those multiple things. Okay, the last thing I'm going to mention today, we're already at over an hour and a half, which I think is fine. This is a very important thing. I'm going to close out of this, and I just want to go back to that same place that we were just looking at for the setting up pickup and stuff and show you where the shipping component is. And that is under, again, over here in the left-hand bank of menus, under settings, down here, pickup and delivery. It's just here, just above it, shipping. So currently with my store, I don't have any shipping stuff set up. So there's different items where, UPS is running the promo, whatever. This is just the shipping address. You can change that if you want, whatever. This down here is where you have the ability to change stuff. And so you can add a shipping rate, and there's 6 different options that they offer. If you upgrade to a premium account, you can have real-time rates, which means it's like on any store where you've ever put in your zip code and you have the amount of stuff you have in the cart, and it gives you some very specific particular amount for shipping. That's a premium feature on Square, which is great. It's not necessary, I don't think. Flat rate, this is, if you have a particular item, and this is the amount that it costs to ship it, regardless of weight or destination. And you can have that be per item or per order. That doesn't really work for a lot of people. You can have it be by weight. Again, shipping stuff is a whole nother level of complexity, and if we want to talk more about that, we can. It's just, it's certain items, and I think figuring out which one's going to be the best for you depends on how reliable your local access is to getting stuff shipped. You can, yeah, that I don't have anything really prepared as far as advice for that, because I think it's going to be a pretty individual thing to think about. So let me see here. Just FYI too, on that multiple stores thing, you can have, like, your dashboard here is going to be by location. And so if you can see how many orders have come in, what kind of online store traffic you've gotten, all that kind of stuff. When you start getting orders, they'll come in here. And so you'll have any sort of online orders that come in, you'll be able to manage. You can also manage, if you have the Square app, you can manage that in this same all in one place. Okay. So again, we've gone across a lot of territory here, which is great. Do you have any particular questions now? If you do, you can either use the chat or the Q&A, and I may not know it, but if I don't, I'll try and figure it out for you. Oh, I guess that was a question. I'm sorry, I missed this one. So if you already have a Square account, at the time that you do your online store setup, yes, it should have access to all of the items that you've already entered for your Square account. Yeah, that's definitely the case. I can switch back over to my video here. Any other questions, comments, thoughts on the chat? Either in the chat or in the Q&A little functionality thing. So I had a question. If you have 10 different items being purchased, do you have a 30-cent charge on each item plus 2.9%? No. If there was 10 quarts of strawberries in one order and the person clicks purchase, that is one transaction, one 30-cent charge. The 2.9% is on the entire amount. So no, it's not per item, it's per transaction. And so that's why if somebody buys, potatoes, and then they realize, oh, I'd really like to get some beef from you too, it's kind of an annoying thing, because if you swipe twice or you type stuff in twice, you're going to get charged twice. Yeah, nice, Diane. Thank you. A note for anyone: if you don't have Square, make sure you get a referral link from a fellow vendor. This gets both parties free processing. I think it's like maybe 1,000 charges or 500 charges or something like that. And she said she's not sure how it works with online sales, but it definitely works with point of sale. So like at the vendor, at the market. Definitely a good idea. If you have somebody that you know who's already using Square, get a vendor referral link, because they're trying to add people. That's a really good point. The $60 fee mentioned earlier. So there's a lot of things in flux right now with a lot of these services. They're having unprecedented levels of request. Yeah, I tried to make it simple. I don't want to scare people, but ultimately it's just like growing stuff. I can do a simple garden thing. Yeah, totally. I totally agree with you. It's flexible, very flexible, and it doesn't have to be complex. And if at the very least you just accept payment. The $60 fee that somebody was mentioning is about for curbside. So like, if you're not familiar with curbside, it's just like the idea that I call in an order and I pull up to a place and I stay in my car curbside and they bring stuff out to me. There's that option has been added to the Square online store and a lot of other places. And so there's right now, all those fees are free. So I think they're trying to figure out, but the projected thing, I think someone was saying, and I haven't kept up on this, is that it's going to be a $60 per month charge for curbside after that. I don't know if that will affect pickup versus anything else, like on-farm pickup or at a pickup site. Um, let's see. Yeah. Diane said last she knew it was $1,000 worth of sales, which that yeah, I might have misspoke there for sure. Um, yeah, I would just recommend if you're having issues or if you're having problems trying to transition toward this kind of thing, just reach out and let me know. My email, let's see here. My email, I'm going to put down here. We're doing the best we can. Everybody's doing the best they can. And so we're just trying to figure out. And obviously, there was a lot of people interested in this. I think there were some that couldn't make it in, which is really unfortunate. I tried my best to get this thing upgraded, and it's just not. The wheels turn slow sometimes. So if you have questions, issues, feel free to email me, and we'll see. Do the best we can here. Let's see here. So I'm gonna send. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and copy the link right now so you can have it. But I'm also going to send out an email to everyone who registered, which should be everybody on here, with this information as well. But these are the two links. The first one there is just all the different resources. It's also got a link to the survey if you didn't get a chance to do that yet. The second one is just this online store that I was using if you want to play around with it and see. Um, you may have already covered this, but can someone pre-order and pay cash at pickup? Can you record the cash sales? So that's actually an interesting point. As far as I know, the pre-order, you have to pay at the time. I could be wrong about that, but that's as far as I've been able to figure out. You can't use the Square store to process the pre-order. However, you can use the Square app, and the Square system as your entire point of sale record keeping thing, meaning you can go in and enter cash sales in the Square app the same as what you would if you did a credit card. And so that is a really helpful thing for sales record keeping. And that's been a function that they've had available for a long time. I hope, yeah, thanks for, yeah, trying to make it less intimidating. I'm trying to do that. But so I hope that answers your question. I think in that case with cash sales, you might you might think about doing like an email or some sort of call or a form submission on a website or a Facebook message or something like that, just depending on the volume of sales. I'll make a note to see if I can figure out a way to do that, but I don't know of a way right now. But yeah, you can use it as your point of sales record keeping suite. Add in the cash stuff that way, and it won't like charge you a fee. That's just for processing the credit card because that's where it costs them money. Any other questions, issues, etc.? Cool. Great. Yeah, glad it was a good start. Well, I'm like I said, if you have questions, issues, let me know. Let's see here. Yeah, somebody said they've heard of farms using Google Forms for cash slash at time of pickup payments, but don't have an example. So that Google Forms is just a way for people to go in and type in their information. Do I have a recommendation for vendors with variable pricing such as meats? So that is going to be a challenge other than listing each individual item. I think one thing would be you could do, yeah, so I've been thinking about this because if you're talking about like if it were me and I was trying to deal with this with not too much of a problem, too many problems or too much effort, I would think about trying to bundle things and offer those in the online store and see how that works for the customers. Um, yeah, so somebody said add a box on the website to call and set up cash pre-orders. Yeah, I think phone call, email, something like that. And even on the store, like if we remember back, let me share my screen again. On the store, I had actually put in items that were maybe, okay, it's thinking. I had actually, on the website itself, I had put in something about You can also call in orders at this number. And you could easily add to that for cash payment, payment, call in orders at blah, 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 blah. So that would be another way to handle that, to have everything in one place. You could also very easily put in a link to, you could say for alternate cash option, use the Google form. And if you're not familiar with that, the Google form or the Google sheet or document or whatever, however you want to do it, somebody goes, you can create a little, well, I have one that's an example from something else. Let me pull this up. So on our, well, I didn't mean to do that. So on, I think this is a good opportunity to plug the COVID-19 related resources we put out through UK. But there is this website available. You can find it on our Center for Crop Diversification site. But I'm going to show you a Google form, an example. You can create this very easily for free using a Google account. Maybe that's something we can think about doing next. Another, a different presentation on. But this is like, okay, I can enter in all this information. I could put in my name. I could put in the items that I want. I could have check boxes, etc. That would be a way to do online cash pre-orders. And again, I'm thinking already, I'm maybe going to do that. I have a couple of other ideas too. Because one of the challenges with call-in pre-orders and even this kind of thing is that you're going to have to provide people a menu, or you're going to have to be prepared to read however many different items you have on the phone each time somebody calls in. So this is just an example of a Google sheet. Great. So Woody said he's checking in on sites that offer pickup and cash sales. If I figured out, I'll let you know. I believe Farmers Web's a resource for that. Can I show the gift cards option? Yes, I'll show that here just one second. Okay, so I'm going to do a separate thing with the Google Forms pre-order because I think that that's going to be it'll be a nice supplement. I appreciate the recommendation from Diane about that. Yeah, that was one of the things I covered in the intro. And that's one of the comment that using an online store also blocks Snap and EBT and WIC customers. And I wouldn't say that it blocks them, but it certainly doesn't allow them to go through this. And so that's one of the things that I definitely agree with. And it was one of the limitations at the beginning that I mentioned is that this is not a solution for that. The pre-order or me being able to assemble stuff through a Google Sheet or something like that, or through a phone call, those are definitely things that would be able to work around. And I said it once, and I'll say it again, at least once, and I'll say it again. The online store thing, you don't have to convert 100% from the way that you have been doing things to this. This is just a supplementary way of being able to offer stuff and continue marketing through slower times. And the other thing I would mention is you don't necessarily have to recreate your entire inventory on an online store. If you are nervous about messing with this, if this is something that you aren't really sure about, particularly if you have a hardcore central group of customers who are there to buy stuff, and there's a bunch of stuff that they like, you can create bundle boxes and have those be the only thing that you do on pre-order, because you don't want to mess with assembling a bunch of custom orders. If you want to get into that, you can, and it wouldn't be that hard. But as far as making things streamlined for you, you could easily have a dinner for $4 bundle and have a couple of cuts of meat and a couple of whatever vegetables and maybe a local loaf of bread or something like that if you have that processing permission. Or you could create a bundle that's just like storage root crops. You could create a bundle. Trying to make that a little bit simpler could be an option. Let's see here. So when they call, another option, when they call, refer them to the web store first, or maybe or the menu, and have them call back with the pre-order. Yeah, I think that's a great. That's kind of where my head is too. That if you could have a Google Sheet that has all of the stuff, or a PDF that you've generated, and you can share that out to your your Facebook page and your Instagram page and your email list and any of the websites or anything like that, that would be a really helpful thing to say, okay, here's the link. Here's what you need to order. So yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways. I'm kind of already thinking maybe 3 or 4 different ways to go about doing that. And then even accepting them through a Google form, that could be another option as well. Let's see here. Okay. Something I haven't mentioned, it's just a piece of advice. I would say I almost always, when I'm messing with this stuff, I almost always have a Google search pulled up that's like, can Square process cash payments? And I go and I read. This is how a lot of people have learned how to do this, and that's why I say it's totally in your power. So don't worry. The other thing is I have links to a couple of different uh, things on the store. Instagram online course. Yeah, we can do some social media stuff. I'm not much of an Instagram influencer yet, but I'm still grinding, still trying to work on it. Um, yeah, we can. There's a lot of different things I think we're going to be thinking about offering in the next little bit. So again, anytime you can email me. I'm going to type it again real quick. And please consider going to the evaluation, which let me pull it back up one more time. The evaluation is here, and particularly, gift cards. Yeah, thank you, Susan. Sorry, I promise I won't forget that. So this is that's the evaluation. Let's see, one more. Let's go back to the gift cards. Okay. So if you remember back to the little blow up of all these different things, it's under the items tab is gift cards. And this is in the online store. And so what you're going to do is, I didn't do this yet because I saw this might be a little bit of a surprise to me. I'm going to enable gift cards. And so like this is the, Square is holding our hands as we go through this. Let's go ahead and get started. Look at this. I'm just going to assume that it's everybody's birthday. These are the ones that are the options. Cool. So like people can select these. That's cute. Okay. So you can select different options. You can select a minimum amount. And what's going to happen with this is, however they process the payment, when they pay you for the gift card, the fee is going to be taken out of the gift card at the time of purchase. And so when they use the gift card, you don't get charged the fee. Does that make sense? So like if I buy $50 worth, a $50 gift card, it's going to take out the percentage plus the transaction fee then. And so at that moment, I am going to get 48, whatever, 48.95, whatever the amount is. And then when they use the gift card, they'll be able to purchase $50 worth of stuff, and there won't be any other charges made. It'll just happen on the back end. So if you have a minimum amount, like if you don't want to mess with $5 gift cards, you could say 10. Do you want it to be able to expire? It looks like I can't change that for now, but and you can select where it's like where the sale goes on your site. So in this case, we'll do on farm. E-gift cards are redeemable at all your locations. All gift cards will be processed by the selected reporting location. Okay. So we'll hit finish. And you have to go in, let's see here. Let's troubleshoot this. Card processing is not activated at the selected reporting location. Please activate the selected reporting location or choose a different one. Okay, well, let's see here. Let's go back. I'm going to go to the home location. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes I myself takes a second for me to go in and figure out. Let's go down Let's go to account and settings, locations, it's on farm. So that what I would do here, I think, let's see. What did it yell at me? Well, it seems like now it worked. I don't know if it just needed to think for a second. So let's copy the link. Let's see what it looks like. So if you send this out to somebody. Well, there you go. So I guess that worked. I don't know why that gave me the error message. I don't know if they're just dealing with a lot of traffic right now. And so if I'm giving this to, somebody, I'm going to select the amount, F. B, my friend Frank. I'm just gonna put the same one just to see how it works. Okay, and you can select send instantly or send on a future date. And I guess you could just, you can just have this sent to your own email. I think they're setting it up as like a gift card in the literal sense. Let's hit continue. And then, whoops, you can enter your card number and your expiration date and all that kind of stuff. And boom, you've paid. And so it doesn't expire. And then the person's going to get the card, and it's probably some kind of code. And then you'll have the option to enter it. Yeah, I think a lot of people were on. Yeah, there's a lot. I don't know. The recording should be pretty clear. I hope. I hope that that's not affected. We'll see. If it is, I'll do a different one, and I'll make a clearer video of all this stuff if I need to. So you go in there and you pay, and it's going to be sent to the email address that you indicate, and that'll be it. Any other particular? Let's see. Any other particular questions? So yeah, this is not a stupid question. Just want to make sure I understand. So people go to your website, then it connects them to Square when they want to order. So one way to make sure that they can get through, let's go to our online store. The simplest way to do it to get started would be to take, so let's go ahead and just open this. This is my online store. I'm going to go and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go, I'll go to our website and just show you. So, and like, let's say I have a main page here. Let's see, go back to the main page. I would just go in here and say, visit our online store. And I would put that there, and I would link it, just copy and paste that link and do it like that. And so then when people, and I'll go ahead and, when people click on this, it will take them to your site to purchase stuff. Okay, another way of sharing this out would be, again, I just have my store's website, and I go copy, and I go into Facebook. Man, popular guy this morning. Let's see here. Come on. And I would go, like, let's say to the Center for Crop Diversification page here. This is like your business page. And you would say, we now offer an online store. Pre-order Monday through Friday until 5 p.m. Paste the link. Boom. And now it's got it. And then I'll go ahead and post it because I don't care. If you go here, now suddenly, let's refresh. This is here. Now, if you wanted, you could add a photo, you could do all kinds of different things to make that work better. But this is generally, and then if people click on it, they can go straight to the online store and make their purchases. Now, the important thing is remember being able to take this stuff up and down as you need to. I'm going to go ahead and delete this for now. I don't want anybody buying anything from me and having to deal with that. But that's the way that I would think about sharing it. In the exact same way, if you go and craft an email and just copy and paste that link, that's the simplest way. Now, there are more advanced ways of linking it with your other domains and stuff like that. And so, like, I would click on connect a domain here and just see what it says. So then you could use a domain I know. And so it just depends. This is where I'm saying that you may have to pay to upgrade that or something like that. But um, the option here is just to use, this is what I did, just use a Square subdomain with a link. If you're not even sure if this online ordering is going to be something you want to do long term, or if Square is the place you want to do it, I would just use the link and provide a link out. You can also buy a custom domain just for the store, but for right now, I think if you're using it mainly as a tool, that's not how I would go about it. Okay. Okay. Cool, cool. All right. Well, if nobody else has any more questions, hope that was helpful, and let me know in the either email or preferably through that evaluation link. Again, I'm just going to paste it one more time. Please go and fill that out. It saves a lot of time and energy for us to be able to pull stuff together in a timely way. Really appreciate you all tuning in. If you had people that you talked to that weren't able to get in, I'm probably going to try to do this again. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you all, and I'll see you soon. Well, we got raised hand, maybe. Thank you all. All right, everybody, take care.